This, my friends, is the 2018 iPad Pro, and I think this is the best iPad you can buy in 2022, and here's why. In this video, I'll be answering 4 different questions: why you should even consider buying a 2018 iPad Pro, what you get with this iPad Pro, things that suck about this iPad Pro, and also, how does this compare to the new one? Like, what are the differences between this and a brand new iPad Pro? So without any further ado, let's jump into it. Question number 1, why should you consider buying a 2018 iPad Pro in 2022? Well, the first thing that most people will probably be considering is its price. You can actually get this for very, very cheap compared to the current iPads. For example, I got mine, which is a 256GB model, so it's not even the base model, and I got this for around £420, which is
$549
So I mean, $550 is not bad considering the brand new iPad Pro, which yes, starts at 128GB, has the M1 processor, a bunch of other really cool stuff. So you're saving around $300 just because you're going with a slightly older model. Another reason why you should get this is because of the features. Like, this has a lot of features already, and yes, the newer iPad Pros may have a couple of extra ones, but honestly, when you compare the two and the price, this thing is a lot better value for your money. And you can also get more storage for a lower price. Like, as I just said, $550 for 256GB. If you wanted to go for the 256GB on the new one, you'd be spending quite a bit more than the standard base model. Now it's time for question number 2. What do you get with this iPad? Well, you have pretty much the same design as the new one, especially from the front. They look almost identical. Yes, on the back, it looks slightly different because this only has one camera, but design-wise, you're getting the same thinness, pretty much the same weight as well. You also get Face ID, which is absolutely amazing. It's just as good, if not better, than my iPhone 13 mini, which was released a couple months ago. This also comes with 120 hertz, so if you're into that kind of stuff, this is the iPad for you. You also get support for the 2nd generation Apple Pencil, which is amazing. You also get up to 1TB of storage, and this packs the A12X Bionic chip, which, yes, it sounds old because we're on A15 right now and M1, but honestly, this thing hasn't slowed down at all since I've had it. Even considering the amount of RAM that this has, and I'll tell you how much RAM this has in a minute. But the A12X Bionic just does the job for pretty much everything I do on this iPad. This also comes with USB-C, and you also get some pretty good cameras on this iPad if you're a psycho and take photos with your iPad. Don't do it. Powerful camera. Very nice. Nice smile right there. Take a selfie. Not as good as the Pixel Slate was, but it is what it is. You get a 12 megapixel camera on the back, which is, I think, the exact same sensor that's in the iPhone 7, which, I mean, to today's standards is still a decent camera. And on the front, you unfortunately get a 7 megapixel front-facing camera, but I mean, it's good enough for video calls and stuff. This also has support for the Magic Keyboard and Smart Folio case. If you really want to spend like $300 on a case, I mean, that's always an option. Now moving on to the things that absolutely suck about this iPad Pro. Probably the thing that sucks the most is this will be getting like 2 to 3 years less software updates than the newer iPad Pros, but I mean, this has like 3 to 5 years of software support still. Probably most of you out there aren't going to be buying this iPad and keeping it for 10 years. You're probably going to upgrade in like 2 or 3. And I mean, at that point, you'll be able to pick up an M1 iPad Pro for about the same price you bought this today. But also another downside is you can't exactly buy these brand new anymore. Like, you may find the occasional seller on eBay or something that sells these brand new, but you can get some really good condition ones. Like, mine is almost immaculate. It only has a slight little dent on the bottom here. You can even get one refurbished from Apple for a pretty good price too. You also don't get LiDAR on this. If you cared about LiDAR, if you're like a developer or something and you care about AR, then you don't get LiDAR. You also don't get a second camera, which you get on the new iPad. But I mean, as I said before, if you're a psycho and you take pictures with your iPad, you may care about that. But personally, I don't. The single camera on here is just fine. I mean, the only thing I use the camera for is document scanning every now and then, and I don't even do that very often. You also don't get center stage, which honestly kind of sucks. Like, center stage is a cool feature on the newer iPads, but you don't get that on this. You know what else sucks? You don't get 2 terabytes on the iPad, which, I mean, there's probably 5 people out there that would buy a 2TB iPad and would use the full 2 terabytes. So this other thing kind of sucks if you're into like connecting this to other displays. This does not have Thunderbolt 4. It's just a standard USB-C 3.0 port, which, I mean, you can still connect to displays and stuff. It's just not as fast and as good as the newer iPads are. You also don't get 5G, big whoop. Absolutely really need that 5G on my iPad Pro. You also don't get the M1 chip on this, but I mean, iPadOS kind of sucks in terms of like multitasking and trying to be a computer without being a computer type thing. So I mean, you're not really going to notice that much of a performance difference between this and the M1. If Apple does do something big at dub this year and does update iPadOS, then maybe this might get outdated really quick and may not perform as good, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. This also only comes with 4 to 6 gigabytes of RAM. The 6 gigabytes of RAM is exclusive to the 1 terabyte model, as opposed to getting 8 to 16 gigabytes on the newer models. But honestly, as I said before, this thing performs completely fine, and that's not really a big issue, at least in my experience. iPadOS is really good at RAM management, and honestly, I don't really notice any lagging or slowing down, at least with what I've been doing on this iPad so far. Also, another thing to consider, battery life is not going to be as good. This thing has like 86% battery health or something stupid like that. It's not great, but I mean, it gets me through the whole day. So also, if you do get like a refurbished model, especially from Apple, you will definitely be getting a brand new battery in this thing. And I mean, even if you do buy this and you want to replace the battery, it's not that expensive either. I think it's like $100 out of warranty, which isn't that big of a deal if you really care about battery life. And maybe you can even find an even cheaper model just because it has bad battery health, and then just spend an extra 100 or go to a certified or a third-party repair shop and get the battery replaced for really cheap. That's always an option, but yeah, battery life kind of sucks. Now moving on to the biggest differences between the 2018 iPad Pro and the 2021 iPad Pro that I do not have. The first one being the cameras, of course. As I've mentioned multiple times, the new ones have 2 cameras plus LiDAR. This only has this, and also the front-facing camera is different. This is a 7 megapixel as opposed to a 12 megapixel with center stage on the new one. Plus the new one's an ultra wide, so it won't be like really cropped in like this one is. And also the processor, of course, is different. You don't get 5G. This will get less software updates than the new one. You don't get Thunderbolt on this, but those are really like the only differences. And to be honest, I don't see any of those differences being worth the extra $300 to $400 that the new iPad Pro is. And I mean, even when you compare this to, for example, the iPad Air 5 or even the budget iPad, like this thing you can get for like £400 here in the UK. And just in contrast, like the budget 9th generation iPad starts at £319 for 64 gigabytes, and it can be bumped up to $256 for £459. And this is UK pricing, by the way. I paid this $420 and I've got 256 gigabytes. I've got 120 hertz. I have Face ID. I have a better design than the budget iPad. I get Apple Pencil 2 support. I get a smart connector that can actually connect to decent stuff. I get USB-C. There's so many things that you get on this. And even when you compare this to the iPad Air 5, like the iPad Air 5, yes, it has USB-C. Yes, it has center stage. Yes, it has better cameras, that kind of stuff. But honestly, when we're talking about value, this thing I think is the best value for your money, especially considering you can even buy this from Apple as a refurbished model for a really good price. To me, it's a no-brainer. Like, why would you go buy a brand new iPad Pro or even an iPad Air 5 when you can go for an iPad that's a few years old? And at the end of the day, it's even going to be better for the environment. So if you're one of those environmentalists, this is a great iPad to buy. So that's about it. Absolutely love this iPad. Click here to watch another video that I posted on the channel. And don't forget to subscribe. My name is Benji from Adobe Tech, and I'll see you guys in the very next video. Peace out.